Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of Day 4 with the man Frank SCALISH. I think it's Day 4, number 134.
It could be.
I got up there, Frank.
I got a volume issue I got to take care of. There we go.
What was wrong? Was that too loud for you?
No, I had mine way too low.
Oh, okay. We should be good to go. How's it going, Frank? It's been a while since we've had a regularly scheduled BTL Day 4 program. Now, we have kept up them. We did one live and then we did one recorded, but we're back 8:30 a.m. Thursday, simul streaming, also back on Big Play Sports out of Cleveland.
Outstanding. I feel good to be back in the saddle on Thursday morning. It kind of throws me off a little. I do try to fish when we don't have a live show on Thursday.
Yeah.
I try to get out and go, but the weather here has been just ludicrous. I mean,
you're a man of routine.
Oh yeah. Almost to my detriment, to be honest with you. Because I'm quirky, I'm quirky. So I follow a very tight routine most of the time.
Yeah. Now, the I'm quirky t-shirt did not make the cut. However, I do need to make a call to Catherine after the show today because we have seen some finals and some proofs of the signature series Frank SCALISH apparel, which will be dropping hopefully by the end of the month on basszone.com, and then we'll also provide the links for everything, but some really cool stuff and a number of different designs, all featuring things that you've drawn with a pen over the years,
or a pencil.
Yeah,
it's they're really cool. They're really super cool. I was going to ask you if we and maybe I can't, but I could. It's Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Are we going 3/4 zip and not the hoodie on that?
Honestly, I had the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame and then immediately had the St. Jude Bass Classic up in Florida last week, and I haven't done a damn thing.
Excellent. I love it.
So I'll get back on that.
That's okay. I'm trying to get my coffee mug appropriated here.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
Speaking about man of habit.
Yeah. Well, I have to do it this way because I was he made us 3 mugs. One said Panger, one said, does yours say Uncle Frank?
Yeah.
And one said MJ. Well, I do not know for the life of me what happened to the Panger mug. I think I went fishing with Kevin Ledoux in the boat because I liked it so much and I took it. So this whole past year, I've been rocking the MJ mug that I was supposed to give to Jeffrey, so I have to drink out of it, make sure that the mouth hole is like that, so I don't ever give it away that I'm actually drinking out of the MJ.
Right,
BTL.
and so I
know the Panger one I need to find. I think it's in Kevin Ledoux's rod locker.
You better get after that, dude. This mug with me, like I'm petrified to take this mug in the boat with me.
To lose it.
Yeah, because there are times when, the one thing that I like about these Yeti mugs, it's not a cheap plug. It's the truth. The lids stay on really good, and when you close the lid, it stays closed.
Yeah, you're gonna spill it today. You know that, right?
Yeah, 100%. I 100% know it. Absolutely. So if I have to run and make a quick wardrobe move, you guys are on it. So the reality of it is I had this other mug, that I used, and I was ripping down the lake. It was freezing cold because we fish a lot in the wintertime. It was freezing cold, ripping down the lake. I stop and we're all bundled up, gloves, float suits, the whole 9 yards. And I go to get my coffee and I pick it up and it's a lot lighter than when I started. And I turn around, I look, and down the inside gunnel of my boat, it's just all coffee all the way down and on the carpeting. I was like, oh, that was unique.
Lee SOY is the BTL shop closed and we open soon. We want merch. Yes. Yeah, I'm working with a company and they kind of make the merch as there's 2 different ways you can do it. You can either buy it all in advance and then kind of bet on the come that people are going to order it, or you can set up the shop so they kind of make it as the orders come in. Right. We're doing some limited, all of Frank's stuff is going to be limited edition stuff.
Yeah.
With a limited number of the shirts available. But basically, when they do a run, they set up the printing presses, I guess, or the presses or the screen printing. So they have it and they can only run it for a limited amount of time. So that's why, it'll stay open if I make like typical BTL shirts, hats, stuff like that. But for all the specialty stuff, it's only open for a specific amount of time. That's why the BTL shop is closed currently, but will open. I try to do it 2 times a year. So
it absolutely will open.
This was supposed to be the first day of the rest of the lives of 9 of the Bassmaster Open EQ anglers. It was supposed to be the first day of the Leesburg, Florida Harris Chain EQ. Tornado watches all day, 30-mile-an-hour winds, rain. They postponed it, so now the full field, it'll just be a 2-day derby.
Friday,
do you have
Saturday.
any experience on Florida in the fall, Frank? That seems like a tricky place. I'm not going. I'm out of it for the points. I wanted to be in studio. I had a lot of stuff to take care of. Like I said, I was just up in Minnesota. I've talked about that on previous shows.
Right. No, well, not so much in the fall as obviously everybody goes to Florida for the spawn. But after the spawn, when the spawn is over, almost summer, not really summer, but pretty close to summer. I mean, it's always summer in Florida, so who the hell knows? Right. But yeah, I have. And the one time I went down, I got 2 stories. Oh my gosh, I got 2 stories. So the one time I go down there, I just got a boat and I had to break the boat in, and I was petrified because I had never been down there before. And so, in Florida that a lot of the lakes, they're all connected in some fashion or another.
That's why they're called a chain, the Harris chain, the Kissimmee chain there. It's a chain of lakes.
Correct. So you could access a bazillion different bodies of water, not really a bazillion, but a ton. So I had to call, on the way to Florida, I called Bassmasters and I said, hey, I have to break a boat in before this event. What lake can I go to that's close to our venue so I don't have to, repack everything and move again to go to the venue? So we go through the litany of, like, literally I pull over the side of the road. I got the maps out. I'm looking at the maps and I'm going, here trip, there trip, wherever. And he's like, no. He goes, okay. He goes, you could go to Griffin and break your boat in. And I go, but Griffin's connected. He goes, yeah, but the lock is broken, it's closed, and we're not going to be able to access it. So you can break your boat in there. So I'm like, cool, which is because it was cool.
Yeah, close.
It was right there. So I go there and I'm breaking the boat in and I'm, monkeying around doing the RPM changes. You know how it is. You all know who have these things. So I spend literally the whole day there getting it done. So when morning of the tournament rolls around, I can let her rip. So while I was doing all that, of course, I wasn't going to waste the day. I did a lot of graphing. I did a lot of looking around. I'm on a lake. I got to look at it. We're going to come back here someday, right? So as fate has it, maybe 2 seasons later or the next season, I don't know, we go back there and the Griffin is on limits. You're allowed to go
little bitty lock, like a 10 boat lock max.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If that. And they had it permanently open the second time we went there. It was just open.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You could just idle right on through. And so I was like, holy smokes. And so I went and pre-fished in there. And I was out of my mind because the fish that I was catching was like people who've never been to Florida dream about going to Florida to catch these fish. That's what it was like. And so I was literally vibrating, and everything I was catching, believe it or not, I was actually flipping very tight to shore in the gnarliest crap that was on the bank. And it was predictable. It was ludicrously predictable. I literally, and Florida, if you look at all my records, Florida kills me Okay, for whatever the reason, except for Okeechobee, because I actually got to fish that lake offshore one time. But anyway, Florida kills me. Okay, so I can't even sleep at night. I'm so excited about this. Morning of the tournament comes around. We go, and I go, and there's not a whole lot of boats in there. There's a handful, but there's not a whole lot of boats in there. So I run right to my best stuff, and I start, and I'm not getting bit. And then I catch a little one, and I think, okay, maybe they're just moving. I got to keep fishing. I keep fishing. I catch a little one. I catch another little one, and they're little keepers.
Yeah,
They're
12
not.
inchers.
Yeah, they're
They're pounders. 12
you're
inch
right.
Floridas are pound to pound 6.
Right, and they're nothing that I want in my live well. Okay. So a boat pulls in behind me some, not on the bank, but behind me. And I think it was one of the Lane brothers. And he whacks a monster. I'm like, God dang it. I made a bad mistake. And so I start scrambling. We get a little busier in that lake. I make a bad decision to blow out of there because I had fish on cypress trees in one of the other lakes that was pretty predictable. And I blew out of there and I ran to this place and I called all my fish out, but I'm only calling like 2-pounders. I'm not getting the big giant ones that I was catching. Anyhow, after that event, my title sponsor, OSI, I had set up to stay there a week after the event. And I was taking out some of their clients, their customers. So I had this one customer that came up and he'd never caught a really giant bass before. And I was staying very close to Griffin. So I said, well, we'll just go to Griffin. I got an idea. And I went to where I was catching all those fish on the bank because I had graphed that whole area and there were bars that came out from there. So they were running the troughs of the bars into the bank. And then of course I didn't catch them on the bank.
I think I know exactly where you were.
Probably.
You came into Griffin and you go to the right.
Exactly.
Okay.
So they pull off those bars. Yeah. Okay. They pull off those bars. So I decide I'm going to take a gamble. So, dude, I swear to God. So I got this guy with me and I'm off of these bars and I tell him there's a neat trick in Florida. Actually, Scroggins showed it to me on Santee Cooper of all places. So I take a trick worm and I put an 1/8 ounce or a 16th ounce slip sinker in front of the trick worm. And you just pitch it out up there and it just, floats down real nice and easy. And I've pitched that thing up there, dude, and my line just starts going and I go, whoa, and that rod doubles over to the cork. I'm leaning in on this bass. This giant female comes up shaking her head and I'm like ready to go.
Because you missed it in the derb.
I missed it in the derb. And so here I got a 6+. So the guy with me I don't think he ever caught a bass over 3 pounds. So I'm like, dude, you got to throw out over there. There's a hard spot. I think it's a shell bed. You got to throw out over there. So he fires the cast out over there and his line starts to go. And he leans in on this thing, dude. He has zero control. He has zero control, dude. He gets like an 8-pounder.
Wow.
I'm like, oh.
Doubled his PB.
God. I'm like, oh my God. We sat there and I don't even know. We fished a bunch of different spots in that lake. Everywhere I had them on shore, I went out. And oh my God in heaven. I don't even know how many 5, 6, 7 pounders we caught.
Well, that's good for the sponsor, not good for the psyche after a tough derby.
Right. Because I realized that, sometimes you get this tunnel vision thing going.
Oh, I did it in Griffin in the Open 2 years ago. I the whole south end or whatever end of the lake, like I wasn't on much, but I thought I could catch 12 to 14 pounds. But I thought all the schools were in one area. And, you know, there were 30 boats in there, and we were screwing around, and everybody was either throwing a speed worm, a chatterbait, a jerkbait, or a drop shot. And there was a whole section of the lake, and I talked to one of my other buddies, and I mean, I struggle. I caught like 8 to 10 pounds a day.
Yeah, that's struggling.
And I talked to one of my other buddies who was like, well, why didn't you freaking slide down a mile? And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. He's like, there were like 3 of us, and we caught like 10 limits apiece, and they were all 2 to 4 pounders. He's like, all those fish that were there moved down into the different grass patches, and we smashed them.
But you don't know that. You don't know that going in on it.
Well, same with you. You didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that, but I had a hunch, and the hunch was 100% accurate, and I was really pissed because I've done that on several tournaments because when I was with OSI, a lot of the events because a lot of them were back to back, so we would take the second back to back event, and then we would plan for me to take some OSI customers out. And so what would happen is on those back to back events, if I struggled in the tournament, I used those days to figure out where I went wrong, so I could capitalize on my lack of decision making. I did that on Champlain one time too. The only bad event I ever threw up on Champlain, my family was with me.
I told this story. Is this the one where you said I will never travel with the entire family again?
Yes, 100%. So my whole family was with me, and I just, for some reason, I wasn't. Every time I made a move, it was the wrong move to make, and I think I might have finished. I don't know where I finished in this stupid thing, but so everything, every move I made was the wrong move. So after the event was over, I had a day to kill before I had to take anybody out. So I grabbed Frankie, and he was a little dude at the time. I grabbed Frankie. I said, "Come on, let's go. I gotta see something. I have to try something." And so I went out where I was catching them, and I made a move, and I made a lure change, and I caught like 4 giants in a row. And it was miserable, dude. I had no business taking that kid in the boat with me. It was like blowing 4 to 6.
Well, it worked out. The dude's obsessed with it now, killing it in the BFLs.
Yeah, I mean, thank God. Yeah, he's obsessed with it. I mean, he's fishing a regional right now on whatever that lake is in Tennessee, Dale Hollow. They're on Dale Hollow
really?
Right now. Yeah.
So if you want to follow it, you can get on the MLF website and see. Is it this weekend?
Yeah, it starts today's first day today.
Oh, sick. So you can get on and root Frank Jr. on in the regional. This is to get to the All-American.
Yes.
Oh, that'd be big league.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Last year he went to the regionals and finished 14th.
Yeah, I remember that. Narrowly missed the All-American because they take the top 6.
Yeah, and he spit off a couple of giants that would have probably put him in it. But at any rate, long and short of the story is, so I use those days to figure stuff out, to kind of hone in, because my biggest pet peeve is if I don't figure an event out, if we don't have a back-to-back, let's say we didn't have a back-to-back and I didn't figure the event out, I would stay an extra day or two. I'd call my wife. I'd say, "Babe, I'm staying a couple days. I got to figure out where I went wrong." And I would stay on the lake, and because it's timely, because it's happening right now. You know what I mean? It would do me no good to go back 2 weeks later, because everything would be different. So I would stay. It was the work that I had to put in. The other show when you had Mark and Ike on, for example, Ike made a statement that I related to in such a way I can't even stand it. He said that he had to work twice as hard as everybody else because it didn't come naturally for him. And that's exactly how it was for me. I put in ungodly amounts of work because things took place a little bit slower for me. And there's no learning tool like time on the water. That's the best learning tool you have. And so that's what I did for my first 2 years in Bassmasters. That's exactly what I did. Any event I bombed, if I didn't have to leave to go to another one, I stayed and fished. It was brutal, because it's the last thing you want to do after, a whole week's worth of fishing on a lake, to go back out and fish the lake again when you haven't been productive. But it was very vital for me, and it usually paid off in big dividends because I figured things out on them.
Did you have that moment coming up? And I'll be honest, like, I mean, either fishermen are either delusional or they have that moment where they realize that they're not Goodwill Hunting or the natural and that it's going to take a lot of work. Like, I mean, I remember I had that moment when you start fishing and you're like, oh, well, when I start fishing the big tournaments, I know what's going on. And then you start doing it and you realize, okay, I'm not a Brandon Polinick. I'm not a Jacob Wheeler.
Right.
This literally, I mean, you can be a very talented angler, but not naturally gifted with the in it. And I'm saying those guys work their ass off too, but
they do.
Did you have that time when you started fishing pro where you realized, all right, this is, I will have chances to win and I can make a career out of this, but this is going to be a grind where it is going to be straight hard work. It's not a show up and catch 'em deal for me.
Yeah. Every tournament that I have ever fished, to be honest with you, was a grind. I had in the beginning, like my first season on the top 150s or whatever, they pro tour, whatever the hell they called it back then. I cashed a check in the first event I ever fished, and I called home and said, can you believe it? I got a check. You know what I mean? I wasn't awestruck with the pros that were around me. I was just like, oh, okay. All I have to do is go and fish. So that season I wound up taking a check in every event but two, and I made the classic. And I never felt like, not that I didn't belong there. I didn't feel like I didn't belong there, but I never felt like this is easy. You know what I mean? I never felt like this is easy. And
it is easy for some of the guys.
It is. I mean, it is.
A few of them.
And I hate to say that, but it is. And I never felt like that. I felt like I got to work 10 times harder just to keep there, just to stay there. You know what I mean? And I threw up one of the worst seasons ever. It was my second or third season up there, and it was the worst season ever. And it just was like nothing I did was right. I was throwing good money away after bad money. Petrified every day that my sponsors were going to bail. I mean, all the shit that comes with it, because it's, we're only as good as our last event. I mean, let's be honest. You're only as good as your last event. And so I was like petrified. And then I started fishing really scared. And that's when everything started to go to pieces. So I decided that, okay, we got to take a time out here. And I stayed in the opens. And I said, we're going to just have to redo this. We're going to have to rethink our stuff. We're going to have to re-go through this. And I stayed in the opens because at the time, the opens off limits. Well, initially in the beginning, I didn't have an off limits in the opens. And then they made a 1 week off limits in the opens. So I got to go to these tournaments. It was a lot of work, a lot of money. But I got to go before the off limits to get a feel for a lot of the lakes I've never been on before, get a feel for them before the official practice started. That's when everything started changing for me, because I got good real-time data on the water of these bodies of water, how to run them. Because some of them you have to know how to get around, like Santee. You have to know how to get around on Santee. I remember the first time I cut through the backwater over there, I was petrified. But I did it, and then I got familiar with it. Then I would recognize the cypress trees where I had to turn, which ones I had to stay to the right of, which ones I had to stay to the left of, et cetera, et cetera. Once that didn't become an issue anymore, I knew that the weather wasn't going to screw me because I got ways to get through this place. So it helped out, and that's when I made the conscious decision to stay in the opens and fish the opens, because I was making money in the opens. It wasn't a 2.5 day time on the water, and it was more comfortable for me. And I was making way more money fishing the opens because I didn't lose any of my sponsors. So I was getting all that sponsor money without having the massive cash outlay from the elites, because while you fish the elites, we were one and done. So if you dropped out of the elites, you had to go back to the opens to requalify. So what a lot of us were doing was we were fishing the elites and the opens
just in case.
And so that's what I was doing. So I'm running tournaments all over the place, and I was never in one place for very long and always on the move. Hence the 230 plus days of travel, and so that's kind of what I did. And so over the course of all those 11 years or 10 years, however long I fished full time on the Bassmasters, I developed a very good sense of where I need to go, what I need to do, and when I need to be there. And I don't want to say it got easier, but it got easier.
Manageable.
It got real manageable. The game slowed way down. It's like a football player,
That's
rookie.
A great way to say it. The game slowed down.
Right. It's like a rookie football player. You see a rookie quarterback get in there, and it seems like he's a second and a half late for everything because the game's too fast going on around him. And as soon as he settles in and gets his experience on that football field, everything slows down for him, and then the passes are accurate and his movements are, blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing in our sport. When the game goes too fast, you spin out, whether you know it or not, because your decision making isn't based on knowledge. It's based on, holy shit, I got to make a decision. And it's not based on, okay, they're not doing this, so I need to do that. You know what I mean? A perfect example is later on in my fishing career, we were on Lake Erie, and I had gone to places where I normally catch them on Lake Erie, and back in the day, a rock pile that held fish held the fish. So if you had this rock pile A, and it holds fish, you knew that you could always go to that rock pile. There's always going to be smallmouth on it. So I had gone out and practiced, and there was nothing on anything. I spent 3 days and did not catch a keeper. And so I said, I'm really missing out on something here. So I slid up as shallow as I could go, and I saw one swimming, and I'm like, this is in like 5 feet of water. There's no possible way. And I pitched the drop shot out to it and ate it, and it was a 5-pounder. So I was like, holy crap. So I put the trolling motor on high, and I started cruising where the sun reflection wasn't in the water for me, so I could see in the water. So I was fishing like the shadow lines, and I started seeing them everywhere. In like 4 to 8 feet of water, I started seeing them everywhere, cruising. I said, holy shit, I'd never seen this before. This was the end of summer. I've never seen this before. So I go back in the tournament, the first day of the tournament, and we got a little bit of wind, and it's coming on shore, and it's hard to see, but I knew I had all the cracks and stuff where all these fish were coming out. And I started fishing, and I caught a pounder, a pound and a half, or, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And I lived and died in that shallow water. And I came in to the weigh-in the first day, and I had 10.5 pounds, dude. I weighed in 10.5 pounds on Lake Erie, which I've never done in my life. Okay. I'm in 86th or 87th place going into day 2, and I'm not going to make the cut. There's no way I'm making the cut. So I was agonizing in the hotel room that night going, what the hell did I do?
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't even know where to go because I'm 50 miles the opposite way of the freaking blast off.
Right.
So what am I going to do? And so I made a decision to go back to where those fish were and start looking out from where I caught them, deeper from where I caught them, because the rule of thumb on Lake Erie is when the wind blows in, the fish move out. When the wind blows out, the fish move in. So I said, well, all right, I'm going to have to go back there and start from scratch. So I told my non-boater in the morning, dude, I apologize, but we're going to have an agonizing day because I'm practicing. And he was like beside himself. He had a few choice words for me. So anyhow, yeah, oh yeah, he was not a happy camper. So anyhow, I ran to where those fish were. I started venturing out and I found a little tiny bump, a real little tiny bump, and there was a couple of bass on it. And so I put a waypoint on it and I kept moving around because now I'm looking for these little tiny glacier deposits. I look around, I found about 4 or 5 more, and each one of them had a couple of bass on it. So I turned the
On
boat
the
around.
2D, you'll see it. Bloop, bloop. There you
Yeah,
go.
2D, because I didn't have
Drop
all
a
the
waypoint,
Mhm.
continue on.
So I go back to the first spot. I slide over it. I drop a marker buoy, not on the structure, but off the structure. But so I have a reference point because I'm 2 miles offshore, so I have a reference point. You know what I mean? So I drop the buoy down there, and I go up there, and I sneaking up on it with my 2D sonar, and I start to get to the rise, and I see the fish. I drop that drop shot down there. Boom! I catch him. It's 1/4. So I get him in the live well. Anyway, the long and short of it is, I come in on day 2 and I make the cut.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had a big bag, so I make the cut. So now I'm fishing day 3. So I do the same thing on day 3, and I had a battery issue on day 3, and I had to leave 2 hours early, and I wind up finishing 4th in that tournament.
No, you had it done if you'd done that on the first day.
Right. So it was crazy. But so I came back from 86th place to finish 4th in the event, where if that would have happened 4 years earlier, I would have been out. I would have been completely out because I didn't have the experience to know that, hey, you can bail on stuff.
Yep.
You could bail on it and you can go, look and find other things and not get all in your head about it. So that experience on the water was paramount for that.
That's a really good side note. Do you want to continue with Florida stories, or do you want to talk fall fishing, or do you want to save that for next week? Because I mean, we're almost half an hour in, and you did say you had 2, and then you also piqued my interest with offshore on Okeechobee, which is just a giant bowl. I didn't know such a thing existed.
Oh, it exists. Well, okay. So here, listen, I had prepared a very huge deep dive.
It's an hour plus deep dive.
Every bit. So
you want to save that for next week?
Let's save it for next week.
Okay. Here's a note then. Next week's show, there's actually a major announcement that some of the sponsors of BTL would like to go down on BTL, but it's coming down on the 19th, which happens to be a Thursday, which is day 4, right?
Right. So we're going to move
it's kind of immovable there because it probably would affect some of our listeners in a positive way as well. It's a national deal just going to be announced on BTL. So that's going to be announced next Thursday at 8:30, which means day 4 will be on day 3, Wednesday at 8:30 a.m., 9:30 your time. So same exact thing, just on a Wednesday.
Right. So day 4 is going to be on the 18th next week.
Correct.
So I just put it in the calendar.
Nice.
So yeah, let's save it because here I got really cool stuff for that.
Yeah, show. we don't want to gloss over that.
No, I don't want to gloss over it because this stuff is very important.
So you said you had 2 Florida stories.
Yeah. So I like you, Matt, I didn't realize that you could really get into offshore fishing in Florida. And I didn't realize it.
It's like the thing, in all honesty.
It is the
like
thing.
The easiest way to catch them.
Right, but I didn't know that because you never hear that. You hear you got to go punching, you got to
Yeah.
get bull rushes, mother-in-law tongues, yada yada
Hmm.
yada. You know what I mean? Grass is everything, and it is at a lot of times of the year. Grass is everything in Florida, and you better know that, or you're going to get your brains kicked in. But so I'm on Okeechobee, and back in the day, and I'm not gonna do a slam on Bassmasters, but when I was coming up, there was a lot of things changing. We're gonna call them growing pains. They changed the qualifications, they changed the classic berths. Like I would have made more classics, let's put it that way, without some of their changes. So they changed a lot of stuff, and it just seemed like I was always on the wrong side of the change. So I was getting kind of frustrated. So we had this thing where we had um I don't know what it was called. I want to say it was like a shootout where they normally take the top.
The bush shootout.
No, 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 no. It wasn't the bush shootout. They took the top anglers, and then you had an event where you all fished against each other, and then you got to qualify for the elites again, or something like that.
Oh, like a last chance qualifier.
Yeah, something to that effect. So sure than shit, it's on Okeechobee, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Of all the places that I
Wild
got,
card qualifier.
yeah, the wild card qualifier. I'm like, of all the places I gotta go, I gotta go to flipping Florida, man. I need, you know what I mean? It's like I gotta have a chance here, and so I wind up doing the normal stuff you do and catching fish, but nothing like what I needed. So I was in this area, and I'm looking for a specific punch bite. And there's a clump of matted grass, and it's isolated, which is perfect. And
Hmm.
and the bottom's kind of a hard bottom around it, which is exactly what you want when you're punching in Florida. And I punch in this mat, and the mat goes, you know how the mat goes up
Hmm.
before, and
I've seen it happen one time.
and it's a beast. Well, I go, I'm on something now. So I start going all around this area, and I'm doing that, and it's not consistent. Like I'll get one here and fish for 30 minutes and might catch another one. It might be a giant, it might be a little dude. I'm not getting it. So I noticed when I was rigging, and I drifted away from where I was fishing, like drifted way away. And I noticed something really funky going on with the grass over there. It was really erratic, really just out of the. It looked like a puzzle piece. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I go, So I pick up my Carolina rig. I get way off the grass, and I fire the Carolina rig out there. It hits the bottom, and I start dragging it. It's like, it's like real gnarly. All of a sudden, my rod loads up, and I lean in on the fish, and I got a 7-pounder. And I'm like, holy crap. So I get it to the boat. It comes off. I don't care. I
Oh,
saw it. It wasn't the tournament. This was
okay.
practice. I
Okay.
saw it. I don't care. So I got the Carolina rig out, put a screw lock on it, got a shaky head out, buried up the hook in the shaky head. And I went through this whole area, and I found 5 places. They were giant shell beds on some type of depression. And the fish were gargantuan. So I'm like, oh my God, okay, I'm loving life right now because I could actually offshore fish this place. I go out there in the tournament morning, and you guys have heard me preach and preach and preach. Let me see. I got a hook right here. Preach and preach and preach about a hook and the size of the hook you need. And don't be confused with, you don't need a massive monster size hook. This
Hmm.
was the lesson. Okay. This was the lesson. Um, I normally Carolina rig with this hook right here. It's a 2-aught Mustad Ultra Point Megabyte. Okay.
Yep.
It's not a very big hook. All right. That's normally what I Carolina rig with right here. And I never have an issue. So I go to this spot.
Derby day.
Derby day. I rifle out that big giant worm out there, and I'm slowly dragging it around, and I don't even get a hit. My rod just goes. I could barely hold the rod. The fish hit it going so hard. I got him. I loaded up on the thing. I got him. I'm fighting him to the boat. I get him like 5 feet from the nose of my boat, and she comes up shaking and wallowing, and out comes the hook. And this fish is like well over 6 pounds. I take a deep breath. I take a deep breath. I re-rig everything. I toss back out there. I get another one. I got it. I get her all the way to the boat. She gets me around my trolling motor. I pick the trolling motor up, and I'm trying to get her around the trolling motor. I pick her up. Boom. Breaks it off on the trolling motor. I'm like, oh my God, I just lost 14 pounds in 2 bites. So I re-rig everything. I do the thing, but now I go, I can't use that hook anymore. I got to go to a bigger hook. So I go to a 4-aught, and I wind up losing 5 more.
What the hell?
Yeah, on the 4-aught. I'm like, this is not happening. I go back to the small hook. I land every fish after that on the small hook, but I don't get any more over 5 pounds. And I'm like freaking the hell out because I screwed myself from putting myself monumentally in the lead. And I could never catch up after that. I wound up in 20th place, and I could never catch up after that. And so I reassessed everything that I was doing hook wise and Carolina rig wise and rod length and power and everything else.
Did you figure out what it was?
Yeah, I did. I was just, the fish were so damn aggressive that I wasn't giving them a chance to get it. Like they were getting it and running usually away from me. And so when I lock up on them, I was rolling everything and I was losing a lot of fish. So what happened after that, when they would take it, because they were so aggressive, I would let them get it until they slowed down, and then I would lean on them, and then I would get them all. I didn't realize that in the beginning. It was such a powerful, fast bite because there were so many fish there. They were all so aggressive to get it. And then the other mistake I made was I never cranked it.
Yeah.
I never cranked it.
But that's a big mistake we all make. We get in on, hey, this is how you catch him. This is the way you got to catch him. This is what I'm going to do. And you do it. And then you're driving home and you're like, why the hell didn't I throw the other thing?
Right. And you guys know this for a fact, because every time we talk about it, I say, whenever you're Carolina rigging, you better have crankbaits out. Because I made that mistake. I paid the price for that mistake. And I will never make that mistake again, and I never have. That is the whole thing. There's nothing better than time on the water. Nothing better, as long as you're learning from it. You know.
I experienced that up at that St. Jude tournament on day 2. You know, we had a 17-pound bag, and I was throwing a trap, and after like 3 hours, I was like, God, these things have to just be here over and over, shallow rock. And I said, Bart, where are your Ned rigs? I said, it's only 3 foot deep up there. I said, but there's got to be those fish. If they're up there, I've caught 8 or 9 out of the same freaking cast. There's got to be more. And he's like, why would you want to throw? I said, dude, I think it. And literally, I tie a Ned rig on my first cast. It hits the bottom. I pop it once and it goes, don't. Not only didn't help us, it was a 2.5 pounder, but it was still just something different. But I wish I had done that way sooner before I just massacred the spot and rattled their freaking dentures out.
Right, 100%, especially smallies, because they move so much, dude. When they get rousted, you're
getting some flack on that hook that you held out. There's some people that weren't fans of it. Walk us through what you like about that hook to maybe sway some opinions, because I know that you're a big time Carolina rigger and have messed around with a number of different hooks.
Okay, so I'm gonna just be honest with you. I still use it today. I don't experience issues with it. The top of the hook angles down at a certain degree to the keeper system. Of course, I tie these keeper systems on the bottom myself to keep the plastic worm up there. I tie those, and then I tie the eye shut on top so I don't get any line. I don't get any line
Going through
pitch
the, yep.
going through there. And then, of course, I tie my keeper system on them. And my keeper system's made with a jig weed guard, so you can see it's flexible.
Didn't you make that in a BTL Day 4 episode one time? Like you showed
Yeah,
everyone how to do that?
yeah, 100%. And so the reason I like this hook, this hook here, for what I'm doing, when you do a sweep set on it, that's what this hook, its hook percentage is way better with that than maybe
Almost like a circle hook.
right, than maybe a vertical flip punch type of thing. Although I confess I do use it for punching too, and don't have an experience. I don't know what Mustad did, but the old Ultra Point megabytes they seem to be stronger, seem to hold the hook point better, longer. The newer ones are a little less. They don't hold the hook point quite as well. So I do go through a lot of them, but I can't switch this because I just don't lose fish. I mean,
Yeah.
I told you about a story where I was losing fish.
But that was more because of how they were biting, not what you were.
Right. And how I had to let them take it and slow down before I freaking nailed them.
Yeah.
It's like a frog bite. You could set a hook on a frog every time you see an explosion and go, I hate frog fishing. I can only hook up 30% of the time. Where if you go, the frog blows up and you just wait a second till the line starts to move, then you don't miss them anymore. Was it the frog or was it the technique?
It's you.
The technique. It's you. So that's what I was doing in that Okeechobee event.
Do you ever mess around with just straight up offset round bend? Because I know there's a lot of guys who Carolina rig with like a 2-aught round bend offset, just the oldest school offset you can get.
I can't do it. I have a buddy of mine. Like I won't use an EWG style hook on the Carolina rig.
What do you call that style?
This is an it's called a megabyte. It's the hook. I don't know how to show you.
No, you're showing it. It looks good.
The hook point, see how it's angled down?
Yeah.
So the hook point goes to the R bend, to the bend in the, here, let me do that. The hook point points just below the bend in the keeper system on this hook. I like that because when you get the fish hooked up, he's locked in here.
Yeah.
He's locked. With an EWG style hook, it's straight and then it goes down. And when you hook them, a lot of times, if you get them in the bone, the EWG opens up a little bit on you because it doesn't go up and through the fish's mouth. It opens up on you a little bit. And that to me is a danger spot. Plus, I don't like how far away the point is to the barb on a lot of those EWGs. So I use this one a lot. I've just been a fan of it forever. Now, like I said, I don't know for a fact if they change something they're doing on them, but I know for a fact that the original ones I have and the new ones are slightly
I bet you've got a pile of the originals.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, dude. 100%. Because I buy them by the hundreds. I don't buy 6 hooks. I buy them by the hundreds.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It's people asking why aren't you there yet? I am not fishing the open this week. I bowed out. I was chasing, like you said earlier, I was chasing bad money with good money in the last one. Yeah. Fished just 8 of the 9, but they did cancel. They did cancel a day. Now, what are your thoughts? And not just in Florida, but I think we've all experienced this. You're going fishing on a Saturday. It's been stable weather. And then all hell breaks loose on Friday. Like what just happened down at Harris Chain. Everyone had an idea of what they wanted. They do tornado watches, 30-mile-an-hour winds, massive fronts, systems rolling through. And then tomorrow's game day. So how much do you rely on what you found the previous 4 days before this came through? And how much are you like what in your opinion, whether you're in a tournament or fun fishing after a massive weather system this time of the year, how do you quickly regain contact with fish?
Okay, so that's a really good question. Actually, it's deeper than you think it is.
Okay.
So here's the thing, and I hate to keep talking about Florida, so I'm only going to touch on this for a
No, that's fine.
second.
We can do a Florida show.
So the heavy winds are going to make that water, it's muddy, but it's not muddy. It's all the debris, the sand particles and everything get washed around in the water. So it's not clear anymore. It doesn't look like that Coca-Cola, that tannin colored Florida water. It's white and cloudy. The bass can't stand that because it's hard for them to breathe because they're sucking in all the debris through their gills.
Mm-hmm.
So they pretty much shut down in those areas. So if I have an area that I was catching them in, you have to go there because there's fish there. Then you have to look at it and see, okay, is it completely blown out or is there certain areas that are blown out? Because grass is a filter. So if you're on the outside edge of the grass line and it's all that turbid white-ish water, and you're not going to catch them on the outside. So then what I'll do is I'll start creeping up into the grass deeper and deeper because the water is going to get filtered and get cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. So those fish aren't going to vacate an area, but they may move 30 yards to the cleaner water. So before you bail on everything you got, you have to see if there's a place in that area where you can catch them. So conversely, let's go to normal, we'll call them normal lakes. Anywhere
like a Highland Reservoir, a man-made lake,
right,
like a Grand Norman, something like that.
100%. So in the fall, the bass are still susceptible to cold fronts in the fall, but it's kind of a normality because the season is changing. They're getting used to it. Cold fronts aren't so terrible. As they are early spring, they're not so terrible. So a lot of times what happens is you'll get some volatile weather come in, and let's say it stays for the tournament. Then you got to go, okay, either two things. If it's largemouth, they're going to honker down, and you're going to have to be super precise with your casting. They're not going to run stuff down, or they're going to put the feed bag on and be ballistic where moving baits are king. So that's the deal. The smallmouth, on the other hand, that weather is going to get nasty. Those fish are feeding. Smallmouth is because they're obviously more up north. The cold fronts don't affect them as much. They're going to put the freaking feed bag on. And so now I'm going to throw moving baits on them, and I'm going to keep covering water and throw the moving baits. So you just got to be cognizant of that. Now if you're up the creek and you get inclement weather and it blows the creek out and the creek is muddy and it's a largemouth fishery, if the lake has gizzard shad in it, you're okay because they'll stay in the dirty water. They don't give a crap. And the bass won't necessarily leave the dirty water because the food and the cover is there. If it's a blueback herring lake, you got to get out of the creek and start working out of the creek till you start getting that water clarity where you can start seeing the difference between the off-color water and the clean water, because blueback herring can't live in that debris-filled dirty water. They can't do it. And threadfin are very similar. Threadfin want to be in the cleaner stuff. So you have to, that's where it's important then to know what type of bait you're looking at, because that's going to tell you that, can I catch them up here even though it's dirty, or do I have to get where the clear water zone is? And that's pretty much, again, time on the water.
You're gonna lose your mind over this. There's a couple guys that mentioned the haymaker. Let's go back and wrap this thing up with this hook, because there are a bunch of people that went nuts when you showed the hook.
Oh, I know, dude. I catch flack from everybody over the hook.
All right, so I got on Omnia here, and I'm gonna share some screens because you're gonna lose your you're gonna lose your mind when you see this haymaker hook that everyone's talking about, just based on what you've said. So that's I guess the closest to what you're throwing right now. Actually, that's the KVD grit pin. So basically, what you did, they add a little deal up there, but it's that same.
Right. Well, they did it wrong at first,
Mhm.
And they had to change their design. But is that their big mouth, or is that their?
That's the grit pin, soft plastic. They also have
because this isn't the big mouth. This is their
what's it called?
Megabyte.
There it is. Okay, yeah, that is goofy looking.
That's the Megabyte.
There's the Megabyte. All right. So this is where I find things interesting, because you have Frank who's saying, dude, I like the Megabyte. I like it it works for me. I've done it for decades. This is the hook. Have you seen this new owner haymaker? I think Castledine had something to do with it too. It could not be the more opposite. So here's your theory as to why it works, which you've proved, which you have on the water experience at professional, amateur, thousands of hours on the water. You have confidence in this. That's the way to do it, right?
Yeah.
There's the haymaker.
Yeah.
That's how it's designed.
Yeah. No, I have, there's another hook out there very similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've experimented with that. And the problem I have with it is you cannot texpose plastic.
Yeah.
That has to come through the plastic. So you have to bury that in the plastic. The problem with that is I'm not knocking the hook. I'm sure it works. I'm not knocking the hook. When you put the soft plastic on that, you know how it is after you fish soft plastics a while, they get a little loose on the hook.
Yeah.
If you're not texposing it, that hook point's going to come through, or it's going to fall off. The worm's going to fall off of that. And then you hang up unnecessarily. And when I make a cast, the last thing I want to do is snag it up there, because that's a bummer.
So there's that, then there's yours, and then there's just somewhere in the middle, which is
that's
what I would say the gold standard for EWGs is just your Superline Gamakatsu offset. EWG Superline hook.
Right. And I just don't use the Superline hook all that often.
Mm-hmm.
If I flip a tube, I'll use it because you almost have to. But anything else, I'm using the Megabyte.
That one just looks weird, doesn't it?
Yeah, I have a hook that's exactly like that. And I can't believe I can't remember the name of the people that make it. I got those to try them out, and I actually bent the hook point down on it.
But I'm telling you, there's still a lot of guys who just use that.
The Cahill style bend on that is fantastic, but I can't stand those hooks. They're too long. They're too long, and I have not had the success with them. But that's my personal.
Now I use that hook a lot. That's the actual round bend, like a 2-aught on a Cinco or a stick bait.
Yeah, and see,
there's a lot of guys that use this style on like a soft stick bait or a trick worm when they're Texas rigging it.
Yeah, and see, and the rule of thumb is you want the gap of the hook to be 2 times the width of the soft plastic.
Wait, say that again? You want the
gap of the hook. That means go from the hook point to the shank. That
point
to the shank.
Right. That distance right
there.
That
distance has to be 2 times the width of your soft plastic. Because when the fish bites down on it, the last thing you want to do is have that soft plastic balled up in the bottom of that hook base. And then you don't get a good hook penetration on them. And so that's the deal with that.
What about the old True Turn, Frank?
When I was
a True Turn guy?
When I was a kid, I lived and died on that hook, and mostly died on it. Yeah, I knew I was going to catch flack with that.
No, you didn't catch flack. There's people were mainly asking questions.
I have a buddy of mine, Troy, who's been on the show with us before.
Yeah.
He used to love this hook. He used to absolutely love this hook, and now he doesn't even throw it anymore.
I'll be honest with you. I would have a difficult time rigging that hook up with money on the line, Frank.
Yeah, except that's my go-to, and
I know, but that's weird how everyone has a different go-to. Like, I mean, you put your life on that hook,
dude.
On
Toledo,
there's other stuff that I would throw that you wouldn't touch.
Dude, I was flipping this with a beaver on Toledo Bend, and caught an 8.5 pounder on it, and had no trouble. This very 2-aught hook, when I made the classic on Eufaula in Alabama, I flipped an 8-pounder in the boat on this hook and had no issues with it. I've caught, I don't know how many 4s and 5s and 6s I've caught fishing it. I can't even tell you. I don't even know how many. It works for me, and the way I fish, it works for me, and I don't have an issue with it, and I will never change it. I won't. And you could ask anybody that truly fishes with me, and they'll tell you the truth.
Gamakatsu, someone mentioned the G-Lock. They've got a wild one too that has that really deep belly and the hook point goes back. It's called the G-Lock.
Some of the deeper bellied hooks scare me because when the bass bites down, if he clamps down on it, it could roll sideways. And I don't want it to go. I don't want the hook to go sideways. I want it always to be upright.
Are you open to possibly trying a new hook, Carolina rigging?
Yeah, I'll do anything.
I want you to try this Gamakatsu G Finesse hybrid worm hook.
All right.
I'll see if I can. I might know a guy who knows a guy who could get you a couple packs of those.
I'll buy the damn things.
But here, let me pull it up.
Pull it up.
There it is, right there.
Okay.
It has some of the elements that you like. It is a lighter wire, so you're not dealing with the super line element to it.
But that scares me because I Carolina rig with my main line is braid. So being a finesse hook, I'm gonna run into some issues on that.
You might run into a couple issues, but I know guys who flip beavers and all sorts of stuff with this and don't have any issues.
Yeah, I'll give her a shot.
The G Finesse hybrid worm hook. Mike McClellan designed it in like a 3-aught. I think. I don't know, but I mean, hell, if you got something that works, what am I to?
Like I said, I'm in no hurry to change.
Yeah.
And I'm not sponsored by Mustad. They don't care. Yeah. They don't care about me. I've been using that hook forever.
That is true. A true turn with a salt craw, black blue craws, rigged sideways. This year's the heyday of the salt craw. I have fished the true turn on a salt craw with a 1/2 ounce lead back in the day.
If it works for you, it works for you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else you got? Like I said, we went down a wormhole today, and I'm really glad we did because I thought it was a really good show, and it kind of was in coordination with the final Bassmaster Open. I do want to remind everybody, as we do every week, that there is a loyal listener code. Code ETL23, 15% off of all regularly priced items on lurenet.com. That includes the 6 new colors of the DD22.
Yeah, which you guys gotta go in there and look at that because there's 2 new colors in there, Envy and True Gizzard Shad. Those are money colors right there.
There you go.
Yeah, those are money colors.
Evo, Holy Shad, or Evu, extra virgin olive oil.
Exactly.
Holy Shad, Harvest Moon, Olive Blue, and Rainbow Shad. Are those all yours, including the True Gizzard and the Envy?
Yeah, everything but the rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
They're all mine except for the rainbow. That was a bring back color.
That one right there.
Yeah. That was a bring back. But go on there, check them out. I want to give a shout out to Thomas, the guy that actually got this illustration.
Yeah, I sent you the info.
Yeah, I'm after the show. I'm going to get it framed, matted and framed, and then I'm going to send it off to him. I promised him. I talked to him the other day.
Oh, you did get a hold of him.
Oh yeah, yeah. He almost didn't answer the phone. He saw it was an Ohio call, and I could tell because the rings were, it was like it was like the last ring before you get into voicemail, and then he answered it. So I'm glad he did.
Was he pumped?
Oh, very pumped.
It went for what, $375 in the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame auction. Thank you for doing that, Frank.
Oh, no problem. We'll have to step up.
I told you I would have matted and framed it, but you never actually mailed it, which is probably better. There's less chance of it getting lost in the
yeah, it's better this way because then I could frame it up the way I think it should be framed up, and then.
Well, I was just gonna go grab an 8x10 or an 8x11 and toss it in there. So no, it's probably better. What was it? What was the gentleman's name?
His name was Thomas.
Thomas. That's fine. Thomas. Thank you, Thomas, for supporting the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame and getting some.
Real cool dude. We wound up talking for over an hour. Real cool guy. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So this is a great venue because you meet a lot of people. And everybody's they're pretty great. Our audience is pretty great. Here, I'm gonna put the hook everybody hates back where I had it hanging up over there.
Okay. Against my better judgment, we'll see if I can find this stuff here. Oh yeah, I found
Why is it against your better judgment?
Hold on. Okay, there it is. Can I download this?
I do not know. I don't know what you are doing.
I
am currently working on a lot of colors, guys. I have a Bait Effect series coming out that's there's a lot of trickery with pearls in it. I have a signature series line that is coming out in the near future that's going to be signed and numbered. So there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe.
Okay, yeah, I can show this. I'm going to show you the rough draft of your design. Is that okay? For the shirt?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's in an email from them. We can show just a little. Like I said, this is going to change, but I thought I'd run it past. We got a good group of guys on today. I thought I'd run it past to see.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So this is the shirt, and on the front, there's the BTL. And then on the back, these are all fish that you have drawn.
Right. Smallmouth spotted, largemouth spotted bass, smallmouth.
Yeah. So here's what and give us some feedback on this. We're going to do an all three shirt that has this largemouth, spots, and small. But here's how I wanted to change it, Frank. So underneath where it says each name, you see where I'm circling right there?
Yeah.
There's your signature. I feel like we need to split this up and make individual fish. So there's a largemouth bass shirt, a smallmouth bass shirt, and a spotted bass shirt. Take the name out from under there. Take your autograph, make it bigger. So like you just have smallmouth bass, your drawing, BTL on the front, and then your signature is as big as where it says smallmouth bass.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to are we going to label the fish? Or
no, we're not going to label the fish. It's just going to be your signature under the fish. But we're going to offer 3 different T-shirts. So you could either do the largemouth, the spot, or the smallmouth based on where you are, or you could get one that has all 3.
Right on.
And we're going to do a high quality T-shirt on it. So it'll probably be $29 to $34.95 instead of a $20 shirt.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
To go higher quality, but little bit bigger on the fish, much bigger on the autograph because you've got that cool Frank autograph.
Yeah, we'll have to move it because I don't like the autograph between the anal fin and the tail.
Yeah, never want your autograph next to an anal fin.
Never.
So we'll put it where it says like smallmouth bass, and then we'll have one that has also. Basically, we're gonna get 4 T-shirts out of 1. But I do like that kind of natural heather color. Instead of just a white shirt like it was.
No, don't put it on white. Do not put them on white.
No. And then this is the other one that we're trying to figure out exactly how to do it. But this is a illustration shirt. Yeah. Now we have to get rid of the hood.
Right. I want to do a 3/4 zip.
Yeah. And that on the back.
Yeah, I think it'd be better on the back than the front, don't you? Or do you
I
want
don't
it?
know. We haven't figured this one out ideal. I'm in love with this illustration. I'm not in love with the presentation. It's hard. It's a hard illustration to figure out.
Well, the problem is it has to be sublimated, or
I
you're
know,
not.
but I feel like a 3/4 zip should just be the day 4 logo on the front of a gray 3/4 zip. I've
With
never seen a 3/4 zip that has, I mean, we're not trying to be like Affliction here.
what the hell? I missed something, dude.
A 3/4 zip with the big giant design on the back. I've never seen that. Like the 3/4 zip is usually classy with just a small logo. This
Right. Okay, so I see what you're. I see where you're going with that. My only concern with the hoodie is with the hood down, does it cover the illustration?
Yes, 100%. That's why there's one that doesn't have the. That's that right there. Now that model is ambitiously in shape.
Yeah, it's ambitiously in shape because if I wore it, we could put the logo on the belly. I mean, the drawing on the belly, and
Yeah.
it would look like a 10-pounder.
We got to do a little. I think there's a little bit that we can do to highlight this one a little bit better. But then I did absolutely loved this hat right there.
So are you a fan of the patch?
Yes, I love that right there.
Okay.
That is an awesome freaking hat right there with the BTL on the side, and then that illustration with the Frank Scalish. Like, I think they knocked that one out of the park.
All right. Okay. I'm pleased. If
Now,
you're happy, I'm happy.
Well, no, it's your deal. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, you can't do it any other way because you can't sublimate that. You can't sublimate that bass on the hat.
I like that. I think that one's unique.
Because if you could sublimate the bass on the hat, I would make the whole front of the hat that picture.
Yeah.
And you could cut it off where the mesh meets the.
And then
front.
you're approaching Von Dutch territory.
But, yeah, and you're it's too pricey then. Way too pricey.
Yeah. But I really like this.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think it's legit. I mean, obviously, we've got the Richardson 112s. If I get a bunch of people that say they despise Richardson 112s because they don't live in Texas, Alabama, or Oklahoma, where the Richardson 112 is king, we can figure out if they're.
Yeah, I mean,
if there are any other.
You know.
Oh, what would you be able to do to put like Frank A. Scalish stitched onto the freaking brim right there?
Me, nothing. I'm not a.
Do you like that?
Not a tailor.
Would you like that?
It'd be cool.
It probably would be expensive.
Yeah, it would be.
Do a
maybe we're going version. Maybe we're going too deep in on the hat.
No, we're not. I mean, it's our apparel, Frank. We got to make sure we do it, but I mean, I also want to make sure.
Feedback, guys. This is where feedback is important.
Yeah, but like I said, I think one fish per shirt. You can pick it. You're either a largemouth, a spot, or a smallmouth guy. Make that Frank A. Scalish big. Keep the BTL and put BTL Day 4 logo. Change it from just regular BTL. Put the 4 on there, and that's a freaking winner.
Yeah, I agree.
These guys do a bunch of different stuff. I can't show that. This is some of the new hats I'm working on for BTL that they're doing. I think I could show all this. I don't know why I can't. Why wouldn't I be able to show all this? Am I going to get in trouble for showing all this? I can do whatever I want.
Is it proprietary?
What do you mean?
Like
no one else is going to copy it.
Okay.
I mean, it's BTL.
Hey, then show it.
Okay. Listen, this is not done yet, but that is we got to change that a lot.
That's got to be a lot changed.
But it is a Carolina Riggers for Quitters t-shirt.
Yeah, well, you'll never see me wear it.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different stuff that we're working on here. Some of it, yes, some of it, no. It just kind of depends. So, all right.
So there's a lot in the pipe, as you all can see. There's a lot coming down the pipe here.
Yeah, we're working on all that. But I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the Scalish signature series designs to come out.
I'm excited for it too, because I had real apprehensions about that 4-color illustration being screen printed. Sublimation, it's literally going to look like, a photograph. It's going to be nice. It's going to be really nice. It's like our sublimated jerseys we used to wear fishing all the time.
Nice. All right, let me get the music queued up, which is a sign that that we have made it through another episode.
We made it.
Of day 4. Like I said, simul-streamed also on Big Play. You guys need to go check out Big Play if you haven't.
If you're a sports
if you're into a sports fan. There's like a Bernie Kosar show, a bunch of other cool stuff.
Amber Dixon and his wife and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
We got to get that rolling. We'll get that rolling. Hey guys, make sure you go like, subscribe on YouTube. If you're listening on iTunes, we're over 2,000 reviews and ratings on iTunes. With a new year coming up, those become more and more important as we put together packages for 2024 to bring you more new, fresh, live content from both BTL and Day 4. So take 5 minutes, go do that. Also, like I said, I've been asking a lot of the BTL faithful, Frank, between the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame and between the St. Jude.
Right.
Massive thanks to everybody for jumping on and doing that. You know, when I was in my younger days, I wouldn't be like, I'll donate to that or I'll buy his T-shirt. But as I get older, I say, okay, I like that. I like what he's doing. I'll support him. So I understand how much it takes to go out of your way to do that, and greatly do appreciate and support the support. I know you do too, because you talk about it all the time.
Absolutely.
We're working on some cool stuff for next year and at the Classic in Grand, because I'm officially not in it.
And officially, I have a surprise coming for that Classic too.
You do?
Yes.
I don't even know about this, do I?
Not 100% exact yet, but you're about to.
Oh, we'll end the show and you can tell me backstage then.
Absolutely, because it's going to be really cool.
All right. Well, this has been another edition of Day 4 with the man Frank SCALISH. Next Wednesday, 8:30 a.m. We'll see everybody then.